the Media Lab, one of the reasons I'm there is nothing that we do generally at MIT will make any difference to people unless industry commercializes it, you know, fundamentally. And I think at the Media Lab there is one of the most interesting and intimate relationships between academic researchers and industry researchers that you'll find anywhere in the world. You know, we have many companies that send their best and brightest to MIT, you know, to the Media Lab to engage with us, and we quite often find projects of mutual interest, and at their best, they're projects that industry can't do. They're looking a little farther out, or they're a little too wacky for being developed in-house. And the best companies come to MIT, the Media Lab in particular, to not to have help with things they're already doing, but to identify those ideas that would never emerge from their organization. They're looking for those ideas that might create an entirely new type of product or service, or might, you know, even change an entire industry. That's why they come. And we find most of the people that we engage with from industry are terrific. I mean, they're very creative, they're very talented, and they know what they can and can't do in-house. They know what they're good at, and they come to us to fill the gaps. We have to find projects that that are in areas that industry is not exploring. I mean, if we're duplicating what industry is doing, or other schools are doing, I mean, that's not really where we should be focusing. And it's so it's very hard to stay ahead of industry, which, you know, they have tremendous resources, and find those right projects to work on. I think that's probably what all of us that run research groups spend a lot of our time thinking about, is what are the right projects to focus on that leverages what we can do but doesn't try to duplicate what is being done outside of MIT. To do what we're talking about requires the integration of a lot of work of a lot of people that don't have any incentive to work together. Because, I mean, development is very local. So you find residential real estate developers that are basically land speculators. They buy land, they put deals together, they get approvals, and they want to build something that's good enough to flip the land. And they don't know typically anything about technology. They don't have the resources to innovate. The architects that they hire, you know, have a very narrowly defined task, which is design a single building for a single site. In other words, nobody can really think about what it would take to scale up innovation globally with respect to housing. That's why you see almost no innovation in housing or in architecture in general. And so we can, I think, play a role, I hope we can play a role in bringing together entities and put together an integrated vision and develop some structure by which they can collaborate and maybe begin to introduce innovation into the marketplace. Let me start with the car project, because we just turned that over to industry, and that was a very interesting project. So we started out working with GM on that, and then GM had a few problems you might have heard about, and so they ended their sponsorship when they had their financial difficulties. We had then an entity, and it was an incubation firm from the Basque region of Spain, come to us and give us a grant to help them develop the idea to the point they could commercialize it. There's no OEM, there's no Toyota or GM involved in the process. It's a consortium of suppliers who are then making modules. This was conceived as a modular vehicle, like the robot wheels plugging into the chassis. You have these modules that can come together in an agile way, which means that companies, individual companies, can make these modules. So they're conceived of as co-manufacturers who are partnering to build this vehicle. So what was fascinating for me is we not only reinvented a car in a kind of a fundamental sense through these innovations I spoke about, but we helped them develop an entirely new process for manufacturing the car. And then the third aspect that was new was the business model for operating it. This is not to be sold to individuals, it's to be integrated into a fleet of shared vehicles. So it's introducing a mobility service, what we call mobility on demand, to a city, rather than developing a commodity vehicle that would be sold to individuals. So that actually was quite an exciting process. We had, kind of at the other end of the spectrum, we had a very successful partnership with Steelcase to study workplace behavior. You know, work is changing rapidly with laptops and cell phones and computation and all the new communication media that's becoming very distributed, and mobile office buildings are obsolete in large part as places where people do private work. And companies like Steelcase are realizing that the future is not making cubicles for private work. It's creating spaces where people come together to create ideas, to share ideas, to collaborate. And so we actually instrumented their headquarters buildings, or their Workplace Futures group, to understand how that group actually did work and how they use spaces and how they use technology and how they communicated. And then we were able to take the results of that study to help inform some of our new ideas about how to create better workplaces.